Hello, my name is Thomas Aldridge and I play Ron Weasley in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child in London's West End.
Hello, my name is Paul Thornley and I play Ron Weasley on Broadway. But before that, I did it in London.
Hi everybody, I'm David Avalos. I'm Ron Weasley in San Francisco's Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
My name is Michael Wally. I play Ron Weasley in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, right here at the Princess Theatre in Melbourne, Australia.
I'm Sebastian Witt and I play Ron in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child in Hamburg.
Now, I, like many of you, am completely in love with Ron, and one of the things I love most about Ron is his passion for Quidditch. Now, I'm a huge football fan myself, and not only a huge football fan, but I'm also a huge West Ham fan. So you can imagine my delight when I first read this passage involving Ron. So I'm going to read you a passage from Chapter 9, The Midnight Duel, from Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. "You don't know you'll make a fool of yourself," said Ron reasonably. "Anyway, I know Malfoy's always going on about how good he is at Quidditch, but I bet that's all talk." Malfoy certainly did talk about flying a lot. He complained loudly about first years never getting in the house Quidditch teams, and told long, boastful stories which always seemed to end with him narrowly escaping muggles in helicopters. He wasn't the only one though. The way Seamus Finnegan told it, he spent most of his childhood zooming around the countryside on his broomstick. Even Ron would tell anyone who'd listen about the time he'd almost hit a hang glider on Charlie's old broom. Everyone from wizarding families talked about Quidditch constantly. Ron had already had a big argument with Dean Thomas, who shared their dormitory, about football. Ron couldn't see what was exciting about a game with only one ball, when no one was allowed to fly. Harry had caught Ron prodding Dean's poster of West Ham football team, trying to make the players move. Now, I had that exact poster on my wall growing up, so you can imagine my delight.
I'm going to read a little bit from Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Harry put Hagrid's pouch back around his neck, pulled on a final sweater, stooped to pick up Hermione's wand, and faced Ron again. "How come you're here?" Apparently, Ron had hoped that this point would come up later, if at all. "Well, I've come back. If..." He cleared his throat. "You still want me?" There was a pause in which the subject of Ron's departure seemed to rise like a wall between them. Yet, here he was. He had returned. He had just saved Harry's life. I love this quote because it shows Ron in microcosm, really, that he can be an absolute hero and a total plonker almost at the same time. A bit like all of us, really. And also, he's just about to get horribly told off by Hermione.
So I wanted to read you a passage from Chamber of Secrets and talk a little bit about it afterwards. Here we go. They had landed next to a tumble-down garage in a small yard, and Harry looked out for the first time at Ron's house. It looked as though it had once been a large stone pig pen, but extra rooms had been added here and there until it was several stories high, and so crooked it looked as though it were held up by magic, which Harry reminded himself it probably was. 4 or 5 chimneys were perched on top of the red roof. A lopsided sign stuck in the ground near the entrance read, "The Burrow." Around the front door lay a jumble of rubber boots and a very rusty cauldron. Several fat brown chickens were pecking their way around the yard. "It's not much," said Ron. "It's wonderful," said Harry happily, thinking of Privet Drive. They got out of the car. "Now, we'll go upstairs really quietly," says Fred, "and wait for Mum to call us for breakfast. Then, Ron, you come bounding downstairs going, 'Mum, look who turned up in the night!' And she'll be all pleased to see Harry, and no one need ever know that we flew the car." "Right," said Ron. "Come on, Harry. I sleep at the top of the..." At the top... Ron had gone a nasty greenish color, his eyes fixed on the house. The other 3 wheeled around. Mrs. Weasley was marching across the yard, scattering chickens, and for a short, plump, kind-faced woman, it was remarkable how much she looked like a saber-toothed tiger. This is a passage that really touched me because it comes after a really exciting sequence where they fly around in the car and they're just sneaking back into the house, and it's the first time that Harry has seen Ron's house, and the thing that Ron takes for granted and maybe thinks is, his house is a bit, sort of shoddy and run down and chaotic and frenzied and loud and all those things. Well, those are the exact qualities of a big family home that Harry's always wanted and he's never had. And so we get to experience that really through Harry's eyes to see, like, this is the home, this is the family that he's always dreamt of having. And I think that that's something that's really a lovely, quintessentially Weasley characteristic is that they have this big, wonderful family that all love each other so much, even though they're loud and chaotic. And I think that's something we can all relate to.
I got this part from Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. It's right before the chess game, and it shows that even a great witch needs a ginger wizard to sometimes give her a little push. "Stop moving!" Hermione ordered them. "I know what this is. It's Devil's Snare." "Oh, I'm so glad we know what it's called. That's a great help," snarled Ron, leaning back, trying to stop the plant from curling around his neck. "Shut up. I'm trying to remember how to kill it," said Hermione. "Well, hurry up. I can't breathe," Harry gasped, wrestling with it as it curled around his chest. Devil's Snare, Devil's Snare. What did Professor Sprout say? It likes the dark and the damp. "So light a fire," Harry choked. "Yes, of course. But there's no wood," Hermione cried, wringing her hands. "Have you gone mad?" Ron bellowed. "Are you a witch or not?" "Oh, right," said Hermione, and she whipped out her wand, waved it, muttered something, and sent a jet of the same bluebell flames she had used on Snape at the plant. In a matter of seconds, the two boys felt it loosening its grip as it cringed away from the light and warmth. Wriggling and flailing, it unraveled itself from their bodies, and they were able to pull free. "Lucky you pay attention in herbologies, Hermione," said Harry as he joined her by the wall, wiping sweat off his face. "Yeah," said Ron, "and lucky Harry doesn't lose his head in a crisis. There's no wood." "Honestly?"
The Goblet of Fire. This one's got a bit of everything. "Hi," said Harry. Ron didn't say anything. "It's hot, isn't it?" said Hermione, fanning herself with her hand. "Victor's just gone to get some drinks." Ron gave her a withering look. "Victor," he said, "hasn't he asked you to call him Vicky yet?" Hermione looked at him in surprise. "What's up with you?" she said. "If you don't know," said Ron scathingly, "I'm not going to tell you." Hermione stared at him, then at Harry, who shrugged. "Ron, what?" "He's from Durmstrang," spat Ron. "He's competing against Harry, against Hogwarts. You're... Ron was obviously casting around for words strong enough to describe Hermione's crime. "Fraternizing with the enemy. That's what you're doing." Hermione's mouth fell open. "Don't be so stupid," she said after a moment. "The enemy? Honestly, who was the one who was all excited when they saw him arrive? Who was the one who wanted his autograph? Who's got a model of him up in their dormitory?" Ron chose to ignore this. "I suppose he asked you to come with him while you were both in the library?" "Yes, he did," said Hermione, the pink patches on her cheeks glowing more brightly. "So what?" "What happened, trying to get him to join Spew, were you?" "No, I wasn't. If you really want to know, He said he'd been coming up to the library every day to try and talk to me, but he hasn't been able to pluck up the courage." Hermione said this very quickly and blushed so deeply that she was the same colour as Parvati's robes. "Yeah, well, that's his story," said Ron nastily. "And what's that supposed to mean?" "Obvious, isn't it? He's Karkaroff's student, isn't he? He knows who you hang around with. He's just been trying to get closer to Harry, get inside information on him, or get near enough to jinx him." Hermione looked as though Ron had slapped her. When she spoke, her voice quivered. For your information, he hasn't asked me one single thing about Harry, not one. Ron changed tack at the speed of light. Then he's hoping you'll help him find out what his egg means. I suppose you've been putting your heads together during those cozy little library sessions. I'd never help him work out that egg, said Hermione, looking outraged. Never! How could you say something like that? I want Harry to win the tournament. Harry knows that, don't you, Harry? You got a funny way of showing it, sneered Ron. This whole tournament's supposed to be about getting to know foreign wizards and making friends with them, said Hermione shrilly. No, it isn't, shouted Ron. It's about winning. People were starting to stare at them. Ron, said Harry quietly, I haven't got a problem with Hermione coming with Crumb. But Ron ignored Harry too. Why don't you go and find Vicky? He'll be wondering where you are, said Ron. Don't call him Vicky! Hermione jumped to her feet and stormed off across the dance floor, disappearing into the crowd. Ron watched her go with a mixture of anger and satisfaction on his face. He's a complicated boy. Nevertheless, happy birthday, mate. Hope you have a good one.
Happy birthday, Ronald Bilius Weasley.
Happy Ron Weasley's birthday, and I hope that you are staying safe and that you are enjoying some time with your families in your homes.
Happy birthday, Ron.
Thank you for listening, and happy birthday, Ron. I hope to see you all soon.